welcome to episode 48 of the Parenting in My Pocket live Q&A here on Facebook. I hope everybody's been keeping and life has been treating you good. It's been nice and busy here in Help Me to Parent headquarters as we get closer to launching the volume 2 of our Parenting in Our Pocket book, which, thanks to you guys, is coming out, because without your questions we would not have had the book, the content for the book. So we're really excited about that. And we started to kind of think about book 3. Let's just get book 2 done first. So yeah, I suppose it's there's a lot going on right now. We're trying to get as much exposure to the Face Painted Kids NFT project, so please drop us a message about that. If you want to find out more, head over to Twitter and search for Face Painted Kids and you'll get loads. In fact, go to facepaintedkids.com and you'll get tons of information there. So that's taking up a lot of time. We have a couple of questions today, as always, and it's an interesting one because I think it's the first time that I've knowingly had 2 questions from males who watch the show. So it's going to be interesting to see what you guys think about the take that these guys have on their questions. As always, please let us know what you think in the chat, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to fire them over to info@helpmetoparent.ie. that's the number 2, because we like to build up a good amount of questions so that we can kind of keep this going on a weekly basis, and we have enough content for you guys to make it interesting. So whatever the question is you might have, big, small or indifferent, it doesn't matter, just fire it over, and yeah, you will definitely get your question answered at some stage. Whether or not the answer is of use to you, it remains to be seen, but I'm sure hopefully it is. We have enough people tuning in to who are kind of saying, yeah, okay, it's interesting. So hi Maria, good to see you, and Amanda, thank you for tuning in. Have I anything else to tell you? No, not that there's anything jumping out really at the moment, so we'll crack straight into the questions. My 11-year-old son is addicted to coding on his computer. He has always been a bit of a nerdy child, in inverted commas, but still has lots of friends and plays football and GAA and goes out with his friends a lot. All of my friends complain about their children being addicted to consoles and games, and I usually just kind of nod and agree. The difference for my son is that he is actually learning something, and he's learning so much that he's teaching me and my wife tons too about coding. We see that there is massive opportunities work-wise for him in the future, but I have 2 things that are worrying me right now. Firstly, he wants to set up a crypto wallet, good man, and begin trading in crypto coins. He came to me to say that he has been following it and learning all about it and talking about farming and staking, and he just lost me. Up until recently, he would have lost me too. Do you think that this is safe for him to get involved with? I'm worried that if he does well at it, that he'll want to drop out of school and just live in his bedroom and not spend any time with his friends, which kind of brings me to the second worry. He has said that he wants to give up football. He says he doesn't enjoy it anymore, and I can see his interest dwindling in GAA as well. This creating of games and crypto seems to be consuming him, and while we want to encourage him, we want him to get the balance. Have you any ideas on how we can do that without restricting him too much? So that might be one of those questions that some people tuning in might be going, oh my god, I wish my child was into something as interesting or as potentially career building as that. And for a lot of us, I suppose it would be the unknown, because people, I was going to say my age, but even younger than me, are unsure of the crypto and blockchain and all that kind of stuff. And I know I've kind of got my NFT project coming out, but there's a lot of people investing in crypto coins, and there are cheap coins, and people are making money on it, and it's up and down like anything else. So essentially, what your son is looking to do is getting involved in investing, and he's looking for you to help him do that. So, I think one of the scary elements of that is the unknown. So clearly this dad doesn't understand, doesn't have much knowledge yet of the crypto space and investing in cryptocurrency. And okay, how can I break this down kind of more simply? If we look at, if your child is outside with his friends and he is coming home and saying, can I spend all my money on football cards or Pokemon cards or something like that, where they're trading and they're collecting and building up big collections, are we going to be worried? Because, or even if they are into online gaming and they're saying, can I buy this upgrade or this upgrade or this upgrade or this upgrade? A lot of the time we will kind of go, yeah, sure, if you have the money, if your grandparents give you money, or if you do a bit of work around the place and we give you a few quid, yeah, go ahead. We don't think twice about it. But this seems a bit different. It seems a bit more grown up. And what's in my, I suppose, research into the blockchain and crypto world, I'm learning a lot about a lot of young people, under 18, who are investing in crypto coins or NFTs in the space, and they're doing really well at it. And they're kind of breaking from the traditional pathway that a lot of young people take, where it's finish school, either get a job or go to university or college or further education, and then get a job, and then work their life to pay for things. And here we have a new generation of young people who are growing up, and they're not having to go out and get regular jobs or get regular education, and they're being highly successful. So I suppose I understand the concern this dad has, but like I said, if your child was looking to buy upgrades to their games, buy cards, you probably wouldn't think too much about it. Now, so from that respect, I would say, what is the harm? If he's got a couple of quid and he's doing the research, do it. You might learn. You might all do quite well out of it. So there's no harm in that respect. But you've hit the nail on the head in terms of the balance, because he could do very well, and it could become something that makes him go, why would I bother going to school? Because I'm making $2,000 a week at 11 years of age, and it's easy money because I completely understand it and I enjoy it. And the reality is, at 11 years of age, he does need to have some sort of education just in case, right? And whether or not he ever needs it or uses it in the future, legally he has to be in school until he's 16 years of age. So there's that side of the education, right? And he may end up working in crypto for the rest of his life and being a multi-millionaire. Who knows? None of us know. But the balance piece is important. So maybe you can make a deal with him. Where you say, yeah, okay, son, we'll sit down and you will get to put your money into a crypto wallet. So I'll go through the process, we'll set it up, we'll look after it ourselves, and I trust you to use your money for the investments. And if you lose the money, you lose the money. If you gain money, that's fine. But if you do exceptionally well, we are going to bank some of that money or keep it aside for the future if you make a lot of money, or you might decide not. You might go, well, if you want to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest, so be it. But you need to be participating in your Gaelic football or your soccer, and there needs to be no argument about going to training, going to matches, that kind of thing, because, or even as simple as going outside and playing with your friends, because of the nature of the world we live in. Everything is enticing us to stay indoors and sit in front of a screen, and for all of us, it's not healthy to be stuck in front of a screen the whole time. We need the connection of being with other people. We need to know that others are, we need to learn how to interact with other people, because it's so important for the future of the species for us to interact and have community, and it's something that we've lost. So I would suggest, yes, he can. Okay, absolutely he can. But he needs to stick with his football and or his Gaelic. Okay, and he is absolutely, and this mightn't be a conversation that you have yet because it might even be on his radar, but he is finishing school. Now, if he doesn't go to university, that's fine, but if he needs to finish school, and you will support him to do that. And you might say, and look, if you would like, we will give you your pocket money. We'll give you your pocket money in, crypto. That might be something that might be enticing. But if we start to see you arguing, one, about going to training or going to matches, or we start to see this consuming your life where you're looking to stay up till 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, well, then we're going to start to pull back. So for every argument or disagreement we have, you lose X amount of time. Now, you know best what works for your child. So you might say 5 minutes off your time doing crypto, or you might have to go, no, actually 30 minutes off your time doing crypto. And there's a chance he will probably go and he'll probably complain at some stage, and that's where you have to be consistent and say, okay, we need to pull this back and put the consequence in place that you have laid out to him, because if you don't, well, then there is no actual issue. Sorry, there's no actual weight behind the consequence. So it's definitely something that you should do, and maybe you will find an interest as well, and you guys then have the shared interest in something that you didn't know much about, but it could be fun. So that's what I'd suggest doing. Balance is there. You're getting a commitment from him that he's going to stick it out, but he may push it because that's what happens, and then support him and learn, but make sure that the boundary is in place and that you can actually put the boundary, be consistent with the boundary. And it could be a fun night. He might go and get nothing, lose his few quid straight away and go, no, this isn't for me. I don't like the losses, so good luck. But the other thing is, he has an interest in the coding. So it's not just about the making money for him, by the sounds of it. He's also learning about the back end. So this could well be a career that he goes into. And if he was taking his football outside all day, every day, against the wall, practice, 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 would you be as worried? Maybe not. But the chances of him becoming employed in the technology sphere are so much higher than him actually becoming a professional soccer player or footballer or something like that. So, it's just different. It's just different. I hope that's helpful, and best of luck with it. I hope you guys make a fortune together. So if you decide that's the best way for you. Okay, question number 2. This might sound like a strange question and not one that you would usually get. My wife and I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she's a fantastic child. We have so much fun together, and we're all pretty happy with life. The reason I'm getting in touch is that I'm finding myself getting frustrated a lot recently as our daughter still sleeps in our bed with us. Don't get me wrong, I love when my daughter cuddles into me during the night, but in reality, none of us are getting any proper restful sleep, and we are all a bit cranky in the morning. The other factor is that because our daughter is in the bed with us every night, we don't get any time for ourselves, and this is impacting on on the intimate side of our relationship. We would both like another child, but the opportunities just aren't there to try. My wife says she'll naturally look to move into her own room when she feels ready, but it feels like that's never going to happen. Have you any advice on what I can suggest to my wife and ways we can get our daughter back into her own bed? Okay. So what I'd say to you is, it's absolutely not a stupid question, and it is a question I've come across a number of times over the years, because we get into a routine and our children get into a routine, and that can be that they come into the bed, we all fall asleep, and that's that. And here you are now with a child 4 years of age who is probably going to school next September, and it's just become a habit. And the problem with the habit is that it can be challenging to break. And especially if you're the only one out of the three who wants to actually look at trying to change that. So let's kind of break it down a bit. Your daughter probably does need to start to move into her own room to get that sense of independence and to understand that she is okay when she's not with mum and dad at night time. And that might be a bit of a challenge to start with, but it's definitely something that is worth doing. Now, your wife absolutely has a point. She's not going to be lying in the bed with you when you're 15 years of age, right? So that's definitely not going to happen. But for right now, what you need is something different. And, you know, you might be sitting there, Alan, if my daughter's with me till 10 in the bed, me and my wife will possibly have missed the boat in having another child. So I think you're right. It probably is time for her to start to move into her own room. And sometimes that can be challenging for us as parents on an emotional level, because we feel comfort and we can be worried about our child not being ready or our child getting upset. So I could imagine if you turn around tonight and said, right, that's it, you're going to try and sleep in your own bed tonight, and she comes in crying at 11 o'clock at night, and you and or your wife go, oh, she's not ready, let's go, and she's back in the bed. So it does take persistence from your perspective, okay? So now the question you asked is, how do I get my wife, what can you suggest that I say to my wife to get her on board, right? So ultimately, as she starts to get into school, you guys are going to have to get up a little bit earlier maybe, or she's going to need a more restful sleep in order to be able to manage school. And you guys are going to need more restful sleep to be able to manage her trying to manage going into school for the start. So that might be the approach that you take. The other approach is to name it. And this can be a difficult one for some parents to say, our intimate relationship is just as important as any other relationship, and not have it sound like you're trying to put the other parent on a guilt trip. And it's really, really challenging. But the intimate relationship of a couple is really important in a healthy relationship. And I suppose you could have a conversation and say, look, we both want to have another child. How can we have another child when there's a child in the bed with us? And if you're not one of those people who just happens to have sex and all of a sudden you're pregnant, it might take more consistent, I suppose, attempts to actually get pregnant. Then that needs to be given that time and space for it to happen, or to give you guys the best chance of it happening. So you can decide, but both of them are as equally as important. So maybe that's the conversation that you have. Look, this is what I think she needs because she is going into school in September. So we need to start this process so it's not too difficult, because just dumping in our bed might work, but it might not work. So what you might need to do is go, okay, once a week you're going to have a night in your own bed, and you both agree on it as parents that Friday night or Saturday night is the night that our little darling goes to bed on their own in their own bed. And then you look at what is going to create the best environment for them to manage that transition. So does it mean story time? Does it mean a bath before bedtime? Does it mean nightlight? Does it mean you lying with them initially till they fall asleep? Does the door have to be slightly ajar? Does none of that have to be the case? But it might be a bit of trial and error, and there is a good chance that she would probably get up and come in during the night. But that's where you go, okay, I'm going to bring you back in and I'm going to stay with you for a little bit, okay? And then you stay with them till they fall back asleep, or not till they fall back asleep and go back in, but probably till they fall back asleep. And then she just gets used to it. And then when she wakes up in the morning in her own bed for the first time, tell her how proud you are. That was brilliant. You are fantastic. You did it, no bother. And maybe you go for pancakes on Sunday morning or something like that. And not that you want to overemphasize the treat of, that she has to get a treat for doing this, but you want to try and incentivize her if she is worried about it. And she might not be. She might just jump into the bed and go, good luck, see you later, I'm delighted now, I'll get a proper night's sleep. But you guys will have to be the ones that will be consistent with it and stick to it. And then after 3 or 4 weeks, you'll probably find, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, you probably find that they've got into a consistent routine. Then you can look to go, okay, well, we'll do 2 nights. And all the way along here, what might happen is your daughter might get to a point where she's going, look, I think I'm going to stay here tonight. Because the other thing is, if you guys go away and she goes and stays with grandparents or siblings, the chances are they're not going to sleep with, well, that might not, I was going to say they won't sleep with them. They might do. I know my mum did. Even though we told her not to, because they didn't need to. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But I think it is a process that you can start for your daughter. And if you feel comfortable having that conversation with your wife around, look, we want to try for another child. We don't want to leave it too late, because the longer we leave it, maybe the more difficult it will be to get pregnant. So let's look at trying to do this and see if she's okay with it. And if she's not, well, maybe have that conversation and, well, what is the issue? Like not as an accusatory way, but just kind of, I'm curious, like, what, do we want to have more kids or not? And if we do, okay, well, are we going to commit to trying? And it can be a difficult conversation to have, but it's worth it if you guys get to a point where you're both on board with it and can agree. But I would definitely start nice and slow, one day, and give it, like I said, maybe 4 to 8 weeks, depending on what you need, and then increase it, so that by the time next April, May comes around, before the summer holidays kick in for schools, she's in her bed most of the time. There'll be the odd night where she will come back into you, but for most of the time she will be in her bed. And then you have the summer before school starts in September, and you're not having to worry about that, and you've got a happy family anyway. So you said life is good, she's a good kid, it's just this one little tweak. And sometimes the little tweaks are all we need to do to take a massive frustration off our shoulders. And hopefully you guys will get pregnant and that there will be another child along the way, where you will need your daughter to be in her own bedroom, because the baby is going to need to be with you guys. So it has a knock-on impact, and the benefit long term is better for everybody, because you do all get more restful sleep. Not necessarily if the baby comes along, but you do get more restful sleep, and your daughter feels independent. And it's about teaching our kids life skills. That's what we have to do, and our daughter needs to know that she's able to sleep in her own bed and be okay. Best of luck with it, and thank you to the 2 males who sent in the questions. I really appreciate them. So if you're a male watching this, or if you have a partner or husband or brother or a son, get them to fire in any questions. We will answer them. Have a great week. Yes, if you are interested in a signed copy of Parenting My Pocket Parenting Volume 2, head on over to helpmetoparent.ie and you can pre-order a signed copy, and every person who buys a signed copy will be entered in to a draw to win a Face Painted Kid NFT to start you on your crypto journey. Alright guys, have a lovely week and take care of yourselves. Cheerio.